Alright, so that was the very basics of shell scripting. We're going to right now do another sample shell script just for fun. So we're going to for each user on the system, we're going to find out the last time they logged in. So we can run the last command to find out the last time somebody logged in, but that prints every time you logged in. Well, we just want to know the very last time you logged in, and we want to check to see if you actually ever logged in at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a script called last login.sh, right? We're going to put a comment in there. No, we're not going to put comments. Comments are for sissies. No, I'm just kidding. Put comments in all your code. I'm not commenting anything. We're going to figure out what we need to do to get this information. We'll just call this our prototyping, if you will. We're write a little pseudocode. So first thing we want to do is we'll actually put a comment. First thing we want to get a list of users. All right, so we're going to get a list of users from the system, and then we want to for each user find the last login time, and then we want to print the last login time. And we only want one. We don't want all the last login times. So there's a process involved in this. We're not going to write it all at once and hope it works. So let's take a moment to talk about some other questions that we need to worry about. Get a list of users. Do we want to get all users? Because if we look at our password file, which is where we can get the users from, if we look at this, we have root user, bin user, daemon user, ADM, LP. Do we want all users, or do we just want the regular users? Do we want the regular users with our test accounts? These are things you'll decide based on your requirements and what you're trying to do with those users. I would say most of the time, if you're worried about last login, you may not be worried about anything except for your regular users. Maybe you're looking for dormant accounts, but you may want to know if somebody's been logging in as the LP user. So maybe it wouldn't hurt to use them all. So we're gonna get all users to start with. For each user, find the last login time. We'll use the last command for that. If we get back out of here, if we do last, we'll run through that. So for fun, let's do last, pipe that into grep for RBE RBE 1 2 3 ish 1 2 3 4. So those are all the last logins for my regular user ID. But if you notice, this underscore is showing up, so that's getting the special test1 IDs also. Wonder if I have T1 if that shows up. Why did that show that? I wasn't expecting to see the oh, none of them showed up because the T1 is not showing the output. So this may not be a good way to get the information we want because the T1 IDs are not showing up. Nothing came out of the output, so the T1 is not showing up. So another way we can get the information is we can run the last command and actually specify the user ID we want to know, and that showed me those entries. So that's probably the better way to do it. Use last in the user ID instead of grepping for the user ID. So we'll go in and make a comment in our script, the command we want to use. So last username to find the username. So we also want to look at that command again. We only want to find the most recent. So if we look at this, we see the most recent is at top. So if we pipe that into head-1, we get one line, the most recent entry. All right, so we'll go with that for now for our command. So we want to do last username pipe into head -1. So that's going to be our command. So we're going to list users, and for each of those users, we need to run that command, and we want to print the last login time. So I see how we can get a list of users from Etsy password files. So we only want the username. So let's get back out for a second. I could write a command to do it, but I'm going to show you the thought process behind it. If we look at the Etsy password file, right? The username is the first field, so we know a command to get the usernames, right? Cut -d :-f1. That gave me the first field. So that's going to get us our list of user IDs. So let's put a command in there to get that. Cut -f -d ::f1. That'll to get list of users. Right? Print last login time. A couple different ways we can do that. Echo from a variable. Yeah, that's what we'll do. All right, so this is going to get a little more advanced than I had hoped because we haven't talked about control structures yet. But we need control structures because we're going to get a list of user IDs and then we want to run a command for each of those user IDs. So for now, you can just sit back and relax and sip on your cappuccino and watch me work. For this module, I'm not going to get into control structures for you guys yet. That will be the next module. This module, we're just getting the basics down, but really, I need a control structure. So the control structure I'm going to use for this is a for loop. A for loop will take a list and run through its logic for each item in the list. So what we want to do is we want to use a for loop. We're going to do that for user in, and then I'm going to put my command cut -d :-f1. Right? Remember these backticks? Those say run the command and put the contents in the variable. Where here we're putting them in the list for a for loop. Then do is the first thing you put after your for loop, and then at the end of your for loop you put done. Do and done. So for fun, let's visually look at something else. I'm going to copy this line and paste it, and I'm going to comment this line out. I do that all the time too when I'm debugging something. Comment a line out. So in theory, I'm going to say for user in blah blah blah. I want to say I've never done this before. Let's see if this works. I just created a list, and I'm going to echo $user. So hopefully, I didn't want to do that. So hopefully what's going to happen is it's going to print 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So it printed 1, 2, 3. So that's not what I wanted. Because it printed through the list one time. Let's try single quotes. See what this does. Let's do what I wanted. Oh well, whatever. I'm not going to spend too much time trying to figure out how to make it show you something I wanted to show you. So here we go. This time it's going to get the actual user IDs, and it's going to print each user ID. Except apparently it didn't like that. Oh, I didn't put a file name. I need to tell it where to get the user IDs from, right? So now it went through the list, and each time through the list, it printed out the user ID. Remember I said before you're going to be debugging as you go? Well, that's the first step in debugging. We make sure we get the list we want to do, right? So now we don't want to echo the user ID. What we want to do is run that last command. So let's go ahead and put that command. Last $user pipe into head -1. So this is essentially going to run this command and put the output to the screen. If you'll notice, in the for loop, we're assigning the variable, so we don't use the $, just like when we were doing it in the command line. Down here, we're referencing the variable, so we need the $. So let's run this. Hopefully it's going to print the last time everybody logged in. That worked okay, except we had some blank lines. What is up with that? Blank lines. Blank lines are users that haven't logged in. So if I was writing the script to do anything useful, then I would probably want to print out the username and some text that said they haven't logged in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this value in a variable, call it last line, because that's a line from the last output, put it inside backticks, right? Put inside backticks, and then I'm going to do a if statement to find out if there's something in that value. And if I can never remember the numbers. I think n means null. If null $user, maybe put it in double quotes. I think if what's going on? If null, I'll check that in a second. Then echo $user did not ever log in. Why is there space between my dollar and user? $user did not ever log in. Else echo $last line. I'm having trouble typing today. Oh, phi. So here's another logic structure you can ignore for now. We'll get to that later. So I'm pretty sure this -n means if it's null. We'll check that in a second if it doesn't do what I want it to do. If it's null, that means there's nothing in the variable. Then echo, not $user, I want $last line. There, silly. Last line. If you were wondering what I was talking about, you're like, what are you doing, $user? You were right. I was mistaken. I want to have $last line. So essentially, if I run this command for a user that did not log in, then there will be nothing in this variable. So I'm saying basically, if there's nothing in the variable, then do this. Otherwise, do this. So let's see if that works. And that didn't work. So why didn't that work? Let's go ask my friend Google. So we want to ask my friend Google. I've been asking my friend Google a lot lately. Shell comparison null. Check if parameter is null. If -n, that should have worked. So when it doesn't do as expected, then you have to go into debug mode, right? That's not what I wanted. Debug mode. If $n last line, then echo $user did not ever log in. Right. Else echo last line. So for fun, we're going to echo $last line to see what's in there. This is part of the debugging. I just made air quotes in case you couldn't tell. Debugging process. See what's wrong with our script. And for these guys, oh, it printed did not ever log in. That's weird. Did I just not notice it before? Weird. Let's go back and take that debugging out. I say take that debugging out. What I really mean is put a comment in front of it, because once you put debugging in, unless you're absolutely 100% sure you're never going to use it again, don't take it out. Just put a comment. What? That didn't work too good. Did I comment out the wrong line? No. Let's put that back in there for fun. Yeah, so my script's having issues. Because I'm printing out both. You didn't log in and you were last log in. Well, that's not good. Let's go figure out what's wrong with this guy. $user, echo last line. Here, let's comment out all of our other stuff so we can see exactly what we're getting. There we go. So I got some last lines and I got some blank lines. The blank lines are where it didn't work. If last line. See what happens. So it's not matching my if statement, clearly. And I don't know why. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the other way. The opposite of dash in is, if it's null, is z for not null. So we'll try this. If it's not null, which change the order of our logic. Sometimes this works. Why does it work? I don't know. I'm a master of making things work, whether it makes sense or not. And that still didn't work. Too many arguments. Yeah, that needed that. This is not going well. Whoa, no, is there anybody more? Alright. So we'll take the null out and not null, and basically this will say if there's something there, then echo it. Let's see if that works. Okay, that worked. I don't know why that worked. So let's go back and look at what I did. So essentially what I did was I took the dash in and the dash z out. So basically this says if last line, so any value other than 0 will make that true. So if there's anything there, right, then print out the last line. Else, print out the user never logged in. So that worked. I don't know why. I'm going to have to explore why my dash n's and dash z's weren't working. My one possible one possible thought is that a value that used to have something, a variable that used to have something in it is not considered null. Null is something that was never set. I'll test that out in a second and find out. But let's move my power cord over. There we go. So let's look at what's going on. So basically, if there's something there, then print it. But if there's not, print the user didn't log in. So let's run that again. Pipe that into more so we can look at it. So here I have users that never logged in. EC2 user, hey, that guy logged in and still logged in. All right. Oh, hey, look, these guys logged in. Last time they logged in and stuff. So that was that. As you can see, even when I thought I was writing a simple, easy script, scripting can take a little longer than you would think.